Alright, so I took this picture on a overcast day because it diffuses the light and it cuts down on the shadow factor. I haven't actually done this particular tire tread before, so you guys are going to follow along and watch me as I troubleshoot any technical problems I may have trying to get this to tile properly so that I can put it on a 3D object. And I use a the NVIDIA Tools normal map filter to make the normal maps for it. You can also do convert to height here, but usually you just do the average RGB. I'll show you what it looks like real quick. See, it makes it so it'll pop out in your 3D image. Control Z, get out of there. So that's free online. You just do a search for it. It's the NVIDIA Tools normal map filter. I'm using version 8.55.0109 la-di-da-di-da down to, but Google that and you'll find it straight away. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. First thing I want to do is I'm going to marquee me out of, well, actually I'm going to crop this down here, so get kind of close to it on both sides. Hit the old crop-a-rooney, and then I'm going to get this out of background mode so I can hit Control T. And actually I'm not sure what you call Control T, but yeah, free transform. And if you hold down the Control key at this corner here, it allows you to kind of skew. And if you hold down the Shift, it helps it snap a little bit. Helps it snap to that horizontal line there a little bit better. I'm going to pull this on out here so that it fills out the space better. Just kind of trying to find that last pixel of non-tire white space out here and get rid of it. I'm going to do that to all four corners. And I hit enter to finish it. Now you can see I'm going to bring up my rulers that this side is not as straight as this side. It doesn't look to me like it is. I'm using the ruler to kind of look at the lines here. I want, you see this one is kind of bows in the middle here. See, I'll drop this, you can see it bows out. It's kind of got a curve here. So I'm going to use this half of the tire. So once again I'm going to crop it, because this side is just a mirror image of this side. So I'm going to mirror it over at the end. So I'm just going to crop it down here to the middle. Alright, so now it still looks like it's a little bowed on the side here. And the way to fix that is it's one of these warp tools. It might be Puppet Warp. No, that don't look right. Cancel out of that one. Don't apply. I'm going to go to the transform warp. That's what I was looking for. And once again, I'm going to try and straighten out these lines here. And I'm seeing that shift doesn't keep constrain this at all, so kind of just eyeball this line, I guess. And bring in some guides if you want. That's what I'm going to do. Bring in some guides to try and true this up. So I'm actually already liking how it looks. It was just barely off in the first place. It just needed a little bit of tweaking. It really looks off here now. This side looks great and that side does not. Let me pull this over here. The bottom. I actually don't need the whole thing because I'm going to use, see, this pattern repeats itself from right about here, and will repeat right about here, so we're actually only going to use this section. I gotta pick the one that I like best, and I think I do like this spot right here the best, so as long as I get this area right here straight, it's when it's important. So I'm going to hit enter and go ahead and finalize that. I'm going to drag these rules back out of here, or guides. I don't know if I said how to bring up your ruler. It's Control R. So now I'm going to crop it down to that little area right here, and I'm going to, if you're having problems with the snapping the edge and you just want that pixel or so off the edge, if you hold down your control key, it lets you stop that snap so you can move it a pixel or two over and crop that little edge off. That's handy. The H for hand tool, so I don't accidentally invoke the crop tool again. Alright, I got this kind of wet spot in here. I think that's going to make it kind of obvious that it's tiling, so I got to do something about that. Stop that glare and stuff in there. I'm just going to use the stamp tool to fix it, and grab some of this in here, or some of these darks from someplace else, and fill that in. So I grab my stamp tool. Stamper. And the bracket keys allow you to adjust the size of it. And I'm working on this at the original size because it gives me more room for error at the beginning, at the get-go, however you want to say it. So when I scale it down later, because you don't need it this big when you're actually got the texture in your on your 3D object or whatever, but it gives me more pixels to work with it at the original size until I resize it. I'm just trying to dull this glare in here. I don't like it at all. And when it tiles, like I said, it'll be blaringly obvious that it's tiling because of those. That one tread will always have that crap in there. And once I get a little bit going here, I can use the area I filled in here. I might have actually should have just used this area down here, I guess, huh? This is the same thing. Might have been better to not have cropped it, because then I could have used it one of the other treads. This is fine. Like I said, you can watch me as I troubleshoot this. It doesn't take too long to do. This is the hard part, getting the rid of the small little problems that expose the nature of tiling. You do want your tile to look even. And since this tire was not clean, there's going to be quite a little bit of debris to fix. Just go around covering crap up anywhere you can, smooth it out. And it helps once you get a spot clean, then you can use that spot to go over bigger areas quicker. And I'm just holding down the Alt key to sample. Guess I should have said that a long time ago. In case you didn't know how to use the stamper tool. You take a sample by holding down the Alt key, clicking, and then you can see it does a preview of that spot where you sampled. And wherever I use the space bar to bring up my hand so I can move it around, and wherever you click next, it will sample. Say, like, I'm going to sample from this edge right here of this black line. I'm going to hold down Alt and take a sample. And you can't see that black edge, behold it. But as soon as I click down, it will draw from right. You can see the little crosshair up there where it's drawn from. And it remembers from now on until you resample where you were. And it don't matter if you come over here, it's going to remember where that crosshair in relation to where you first clicked after you took a sample is. So Control Alt Z does multiple undos. Like a lot of people know about the Control Z just doing undo, but you have multiple undo levels in Photoshop. You can hold down Alt key, Control Alt Z, and it'll go back through your history without having to go into the history palette, which there is a history palette, and it allows you to undo all those steps or whatever. But if you just hold Control Alt down, it'll go through this whole list all the way till you run out of history. So that's something nice to know. So I'm going to continue to work on this, evening out this. I want these little knobbies here because it shows off that it's kind of a newer tire. But I do want to get rid of the debris. And I want all the blacks to be, or grays to be the same tone of gray. Because when you tile it, if they're not, you'll see right where you transition from one shade of gray to even a slightly different shade. It's just painfully obvious. So you want to get it all the same color across the entire texture as best as possible. Especially on these edges here. Just run it right off the edge. You want to do it on the bottom edge and the side edges too. Anywhere where the tiling is actually going to take place. So you don't see the transition of one color to another. You want it pretty even. I'm going to try and go as fast as I can here, so this ain't too long of a tutorial. But this can take a little while to do all of it nice and even the same. And don't worry if you think this is too light or whatever, you can just go into your curves, which is Control M later. Oh, my lips is coming up. Why is my curves coming up? So I'm thinking my recording software is keeping me from getting at my curves. Well, I can always do normally Control M brings up your curves, but I can do levels and I don't like it as nicely, but it allows you to darken, pull in the whites, darken your tones. You can get it to be a darker tread or whatever this way. But right now we're not worried about that. And you can also do a curves channel right above the layer, and you can mess with it this way. But I'm not going to deal with that right now, so drag that to the trash. And continue on cloning. And go back to my stamp tool, which is S. Take sample with the Alt. Just trying to get rid of all that debris still. Make everything even. So I'm just about done here. I'm going ahead and get rid of that little knobby there. It was barely noticeable anyways. I can actually clone another knobby to where that was, making it more pronounced. Don't worry if you clone a little bit of something you don't want to clone into a spot. You can always, see I showed that line there, I can always go back and just cover it right up. I like this knobby here, so I'm going to go ahead and place it right there where that one I covered up was. I think it was right there. Might have been over here. I don't think so. I think it was right there. And here's one that's not very easy to see, so I'm going to copy this one and put it right on top of that one. Go ahead and do this whole edge right here in this gray, so when it tiles down here, they match. You want it to match all the way around. Mostly on the top and bottom edge as far as this tire goes. So I still have a problem here with this. Doesn't seem quite, I'm pulling a line up here and it looks pretty straight on the line, but to my eye it's saying that this is not going to match up. And the way to tell is I'm going to expand out my canvas and try it and go ahead and do a rough tile right quick. So go to my canvas size. I'm going to go to change my height to like 3000, so I have plenty of room on the top and the bottom. I'll drag this down, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm in the move mode here. Hold down my Alt key, hold Shift down and drag up, and go ahead and see how it looks when I try and tile. You can see it's just not matching up. And like right here it's matching up, and it's close to matching up here, but as soon as I get over here, definitely not matching up. So that means I need to fix the colors here. This gray is definitely darker than that gray. This gray is darker than that gray. So I got to make this, you can see my grays, I actually forgot to do this spot here, but you can see right here this gray transition's pretty clean and that gray transition's fairly clean. So going ahead and Control Alt Z back to where I was. Get my stamp tool back out here, got some more work to do on the stamper. And fix these grays down here. I'm going to remove that knobby and replace it with a different one. Just kind of remember where it's at there. It's right there. Now you can find these online for free, I guess, but then it's not yours. And it's good to know how to do this kind of stuff, because there's all kinds of, I mean, this is a hard one to do. There's all kinds of tileable textures out there you can create. And if you can do a tire tread, then you should ought to be able to just do about anything tileable texture wise. So I like this darker gray here. I'm going to use it. To get a start going here. Don't worry about those dots. You can go back and quickly cover those up later. grab this, cover it up. I'm going to make me a spot to clone from here. Almost got it. Now I can use this and just draw out big time from that whole area. And I know it seems like I'm losing a lot of detail here, but believe me, I mean, you can go and try and keep more detail and be more precise if it's a texture that requires it, but on a tire, unless you're going to be doing it for like a tire display or a tire advertisement commercial or something of that nature, you really don't need to have it all these little minuscule details present, because it's a tire and it's going to be spinning and you hardly ever do a close-up on it. But what you do want is your line straight. You don't want it to, like that glare I had, you don't want certain artifacts like that, where it looks like an artifact that's tiling over and over again, making it obvious where the tile starts and where it ends. So I'm going to click right in the middle here, scooch over just a little and hold down my shift key and go up and down a nice straight line there. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Take my sample, scooch over a little bit, hold down the shift key and go all the way up and down. I'm going to get a smaller brush and get rid of this line in the middle. Take a sample, hold down my shift key, go all the way up and down. And that's being very stubborn. I'm going to get a little smaller brush, do the same thing, grab my Alt key, use Alt to take my sample, hold my shift key, go all the way up and down. You can see I'm slowly but surely weeding that streaking out. It's being a pain. So I'm going to doing some sampling from this spot where it's less pronounced. Just trying to get rid of it. And don't worry if you screw this edge up, if you don't like how it looks. I got a nice spot right here. I'm going to use it to fix the edge all the way up and down here. And you can see it gives you a little preview. You just line up your lines. The best you can. Fix it all the way up and down there. Almost there. Alright. And I actually like that shadow. I'm actually going to use it over here. And you can see the grays off. I'm going to fix that after I fix this shadow. I like that shadow, so I want it on this whole line there. So So I'm just going to copy paste it now. Kind of spread it out. So now I can fix, by holding down the shift key, fix that off gray. And there, that fixed that line pretty good. And you gotta remember, this is, I mean, this is how you're gonna see it. You're not gonna be zoomed in like this ever on a tire, like in a video game or even in your, unless, like I said, you're doing it for a promotional piece of a tire or a tire advertisement, in which case you'll be starting off with a brand new tire with no tread on it, or with no dirt on the tread, and you know, somebody will be paying you. You'll probably have a studio where you can do actual good lighting, and it's not going to be a used tire, it'll be brand new. So this is just so I have a royalty-free tire I can use everywhere. Nobody's going to ever give me any bills saying, hey, you're using my stuff, I want payment, compensation, whatever. I see there's a little bit of crap still up here, so go grab that and try and fill it in a little bit. So don't be afraid to change your brush size. If you have a little detail you need to try and clean up or whatever, get in there, change your brush size, and get to work on getting rid of stuff. Like I said, actually it's good to zoom out every now and then and see what it looks like at the perspective you're most likely going to see it from. So I got a pretty good chunk of tire to work with here now. So I'm going to go ahead and expand back out my canvas size. We're just about done now. So I'm going back to 3000. And now we're going to use layers to fix what's left here. We're going to slice and dice it until we got what we need. So first of all, I want to be able to tile this spot perfectly. So I want to choose this area right here. This is going to be what I tile. I'm going to copy it, paste it to a new layer, and there I go. I'm going to turn that off for now. And then I want to do the same thing here. I want to copy right from the edge here down to this edge and go out into the gray space here and paste it to a new layer. I didn't do it. Go and try it again. Control copy and paste. Oh man, it's being stubborn. This could be my capture software that's doing this. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Duh. Sorry guys. Copy. Paste. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta be an idiot if you're gonna be part of the human species. Alright, so I grabbed that. Next I'm going to go back to my layer I want to copy from yet again the same thing. I want to start from here to right about there. Copy and paste. And I'll worry about this line out here in a little while. I'm just going to turn off layer 1 here. Okay, so I want this to be tileable, and it's not yet by a long shot. So I'm gonna actually I need to cut it down to about here and delete. Now I'm just holding down my Alt to drag and copy, and I'm just trying to see, is it going to be tileable ever at all? Go ahead and turn off these other things until I get this chunk tileable. Now, it is possible this isn't going to be an exact match to the first tire, but that doesn't matter. You may have to change it a little bit. To get it to work for you. So what am I going to do here? So this is what I'm going to do. I did a Control T there to see how much in it. I'm holding the Shift key, so I'm trying to see how much I have to tweak it to get it into the correct shape. I'm escaping out of there. I'm going to make a copy of this layer, and I'm going to use my opacity over here and drop it down. And right now you can't see because they're right on top of each other, but on this new layer, if I do the same thing, now you can see the old layer underneath. And actually what I need to do before I do that is I'm going to move it down here onto this one. Then I'm going to hit the Control T. I want to drag that little hairline crevice up so it matches this one. There we go. And I'm going to turn my opacity back up like that. And then I'm going to drag it back up to this one. I'm going down here to the bottom layer. I control click this layer because it's the original square size, and I'm going to Control Shift I to invert my selection and delete, and then Control D to deselect, and now that should be tileable. And turn this one off. That's the original down here, and this one is the new one I made that should be tileable, or more so tileable. It's almost there. I may have to tweak it a little bit closer. As you can see, it's pretty close now to tileable. So I'm going to do exactly what I just did again with this one. I'm going to bump it up down here. Turn down the opacity enough so I can see as I transform it up just a hair. I'm going to turn my opacity back up, move it back on top of this one, I'm going to control click on the bottom layer to make the selection, control shift I to invert my selection, hit delete, control D to deselect my selection, and then make the layer underneath the original layer invisible again, and try and tile again and see if it's tileable now. Yeah, and now it is tileable. It's much better. It's very tileable, and you got to remember zooming out. I know you can see the little lines now, but you're not going to be able to after we do a little bit of fixing of the edges and stuff in the end result. You just want it to be tileable almost to the point of no error at all. So I have that original one still down here. I'm going to delete this one because that's the second original that didn't work. I have that original one, so I have this square I can work with. I want to try and line them back up with each other. The original one that didn't work and the new one that I have that does work. And Photoshop does a pretty good job of snapping the shapes together. If you have anything after CS2 or something like that, Photoshop started snapping pretty good. You might have to eyeball it with earlier versions than that. So this is my fixed one. That's my old one that didn't work. My fixed one, I'm going to put it right on top. And just going to leave them there for now together. I'm going to dual select them both and bring them up here, because I may need this to select from a little later. So I want to keep it. I'm going to rename this one to done one. And I'm going to move on to the second part here. Now these aren't going to match up because we'll make it all, we'll figure all that out later, but we just need it to be very tileable, each piece tileable. I'm going to move these all over here. Let's go back to this one. So I want this one to be tileable now as well. So let's see how off it is when you try and tile it. So it looks like I need to maybe just hit the old Stamperoonie tool and get rid of this right here. And actually, before I do that, because I want a nice clean selection, I'm going to make a copy of it and work on the copy and use this one to get my rectangle selection that I want whenever I need it. So Control D to deselect. I'm going to get rid of that little artifact down there that's going to show up in the clone. Going to hit Control and hit the first one, so I have a good rectangle. Because if I tried to select from this one, you see it makes this selection right here. So I'm going back to this one and get the selection I like. Control Shift I to invert the selection and delete that chunk of unnecessary text pixels down there off, and Control D to deselect. Now I can get rid of that bottom one that I used for the selection, and I can go back and try and clone that and see how it looks and see what's going on here. So it looks like do I need to do? So I want to look at the original picture. Of the tire to see how it looked at that junction right there. I told it to open it, and it did not. Open up this other one. Zoom in. What's going on there? There is no line there, so I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of this line. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Go to my stamp tool. And, I want a nice something I can do a clean selection off of. So I'm going to drag a copy of it and work on the copy 2. Get rid of that. Then I'm going to use this one for the selection. Control Shift I, delete. Control D to deselect. Go ahead and get rid of that because I don't need it for a selection template. I'm going to see how it tiles now. So I'm having a little bit of issue still here in this corner. So go ahead and throw that away. So that corner, this is what I may have to do. So I'm going to want a selection still. I'm going to copy paste it. This one's for the selection. Now I'm going to drag a copy of it again. Let Photoshop snap them together. And then I'm going to Control E on this one and merge it down. I'm going to fix this area right here so it's now you can see I can still select this with this template one I left here. Control D to undo that. So I'm going to fix this edge with the stamp tool. Make it all nice and clean. I don't want any crapola going on here. So fix this right here. Make it look all nice. Alright, so that looks pretty good across there. So now I ought to be able to just use this first one here to get my selection going. Control Shift I and delete. Deselect, Control D, and throw away the template I used for selection. And go back to my move tool, and now it should definitely. Oh, I should have done it on the top half. See, this is why you guys are going to see why I messed up. So the bottom and the top need to match up. So what I got to do is move this down here in the middle so I have room to work on both of them. Oops. This is trial and error. This is good stuff to know. So I'm moving it in the bottom. This is going to be my template for the selection. And I'm going to make a copy of it and turn off my template for the selection. And then I'm going to drag one down and go back to that working layer and drag one up. And it's pretty darn close, but I'm going to merge them all together anyways. So merge down, now there's one strip, Control Z, because I don't want it to move. I want that. The reason why I did Control Z to put it right back where it was is because this selection, I'm fixing this piece. So deselect. I'm going to go in here and get my stamper, fix that edge up again, top and bottom. It was pretty good already, but now I'm going to hit my Control, select that bottom layer, Control Shift I, to invert, delete, Control D, deselects, throw away this one, go to, see if it'll copy and tile nice now. Is it playing nice? It looks like it's playing nice. Is it playing nice on the at the top too? It looks pretty good. And you see that little line, that's just a display glitch that Photoshop does. I'm not sure why. It seems like it does that a lot on a lot of different things. Usually it's around the edge, but when you're zooming in or zooming out, that pixel of transparency shows up for some reason sometimes. So anyways, I got me a good tileable chunk here. This is done 2. Turn on done 1. Oh, it looks like I got some crap down here. Need to delete. No biggie. Select it, delete it. Alright, so I got one piece left. I know these don't match, but we'll fix that, don't you worry. It's easy peasy after this last piece. And this last piece, I don't even think we got to worry about. It's already good to go. Oh, now I could use a little bit of tweaking. It's pretty close. Oops. Control Z. So I'm going to want, like I had done before, I need a layer to make the selection off of. I want to drag one up, drag one down. I'm going to go and merge them all together. Control E, merges. I'm going to fix this edge. Make it look nice, all uniform all the way across. That should do it. That was quick, huh? So Control select that one, Control Shift I, delete, Control D to deselect, H is my hand tool, throw that layer away, and see if it tiles. And that looks pretty good. And see if it tiles upwards. That looks really good. Alright, so I'm going to throw those 2 away. And I got my last chunk, done 3. What is this? I can throw that one away. What is this? Oh, I had a piece of original tire down there. That's just So I still want this groove over here, and I don't know, I guess I could use this channel in here, but it's not too big a deal right now. Oops. As you can see, I'm not very professional. I just pretend like I know what I'm doing here. Pretending gets you all the ladies, though. Alright, so turn this one on and see how that groove matches up. Oops. It does, this groove does kind of channel right over here to that one, so I want it to be pretty even there, and this one pretty close. It's supposed to be right there somewhere. I'll bring it down a little like that. Bring this one down a little like that. I'm matching up these lines here. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want something. I'm going to use this one here, and I'm going to just going to fill it in. I'm going to make a new layer, because this is how big my tile is going to be. I'm going to fill it in with my paint bucket, which is G, and if it comes up on your gradient tool or the other bucket, just hold down Shift key, or you can go over here and go straight to your paint bucket and just fill it in. Bam. Then deselect. Now I'm going to go Control T, and I'm going to hold Shift key down and transform this out to the edge here. And then I'm not going to worry about it for a little while. I got that there. I'm going to deselect it. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to do what I needed to do. With the tiling business. So I want to tile this layer. Oops. Hold down the Alt key, tile it down. Maybe nudge it up a little. So if that is showing up, don't worry about it. We're going to fix that too in the end. And then go ahead and move it up. And then I'm going to go over here to this one, tile it down, tile it up, and then I want that tread off the bottom here, out there at the edge. I'm just going to leave that there. So now I'm going to turn this back on, because I'm going to crop it all down to that black triangle. Hopefully Photoshop snaps to it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to escape out here, turn off the visibility of all these other things, and escape out of that crop tool. I turned all that other visibility off because this time I want it to snap to just the black. It was confusing it because all the other layers are on. Turned off the other layers, snap to it. Now I can turn all the other layers back on. Turn that layer off. And I'm going to merge these all down except for that last layer. And I'm going to hit Control T, move this edge out. right there. Is that right? Control T. You know what, I'm going to turn the opacity down because I can't see it good enough. Now I'm going to do it. I want it right about there. Turn my opacity back up. And then I'm going to see how this tiles. I'm going to merge it down. I'm going to go back up to canvas size, change this to like 2000. Go ahead and see if it tiles up and down good. It does not. Tiled down pretty good to here. Where's that original tire at again? So there is a line. That's what my problem is. We're missing this line here. That's alright. We can fix this. It may not be a perfect match, I just want something I can tile nicely. So what am I going to do? I am going to bring that right there. Grab my stamp tool. Merge it down. Everything's together in one layer now. I am going to get rid of that edgy crap up there. Go to crop, hit this as close here as I can. And then I'm going to expand back out my canvas. 3000. So I need to figure out how to match this all up. Oops. In a nifty kind of way. so it's tiling upwards now perfectly, but it's not tiling downwards. So I want something I can cut. I'll go ahead and delete that one because this is a good layer. It's tileable in one direction and I don't want to ruin it. Trying to figure out how to tile it the other direction, so I'm going to go ahead and draw out a marquee here to just under this. Now I'm going to deselect. I really want I need another layer here. And this one I want to change the color of it so I can see it more clearly. I want contrast or whatever. I want to move it up so it matches up here, so I know where to draw to on this layer when I do my marquee, because I'm going to delete. Control Shift I. I'm going to delete this section right here. There we go. So now I can get rid of that. Now hopefully it'll tile upward and downward. And it does. Tile's pretty good now. Except for Photoshop still doing that thing with the transparent line. So yeah, see? Pretty good. We're seeing a little bit of, well, that's not even where the tiling's happening, but I can fix that real quick on the original with the stamp here. There we go. Get rid of these two copies. So gonna crop What are you doing, Photoshop? Gonna hold down my control key because Photoshop is not snapping to the edge like I like. Or maybe it was and I just thought I knew better. Let's see, I'm going to throw away this layer. I'm going to use V or Alt to make a copy down here. I want them lined up perfect. I'm going to hit the crop, enter. I'm going to try and tile it again and see what's going on here. Canvas size 3000. I have a little sliver there, so I'm going to merge that down. I almost deleted it. Go to V, hold my Alt key down, see if it's tiling perfect. Looks pretty good. I'm going to use eyedropper tool, select that color of gray. I'm going to hit G and fill that background. I'm going to get rid of these two. And I am going to let Photoshop snap crop it. Okay, now it's time to do the mirror over thing. I want to mirror and rotate it over, so I'm going to go to canvas size and change my width out to 3500, so I have plenty of room. Delete that layer. I am going to drag a copy layer over here, go to transform, holding shift down, grab the corner. Blam. Now I need to fix this edge here a little bit. I merged it down, Control E. I'm going to crop it in on the side here. And then I'm going to just fix with the stamp tool this whole area here. Alright, well, let's see how that works out. So, go to canvas size, change my height to like 4000. I'm going to see if it tiles now. And it looks pretty good. I think I got it. I'm going to crop Photoshop crop it. I'm going to save it. Save it as a desktop or JPEG. Tile a bowl tire. Hit save. It's actually huge. I don't need it this big, but it's up to you how big you want it. I mean, this is 50%, so there's 100%. It's way bigger than I need it in any application. So maybe I'll just do a 500 high. Still seems kind of big, eh? How about 800 wide? There, that's pretty good. 800 wide. And I'm going to resave this as a JPEG. Tileable tire. I'm going to put a little underscore RE at the end there, so I'll just go ahead and spell it out, resized. And then I'm going to go into my 3D app of choice. and see how it works. So I gotta make it. I'm not gonna make a really complicated tire here, just a pretty cheesy one. I'm gonna start off with a disc. I'm gonna give it some width. I'm going to delete that poly, delete that poly. I'm going to extrude. Extrude again. I'm doing a little resize in here. Extrude again. Extrude again. Extrude again. And extrude again. Guess one more time for good measure. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. So, I'm going to grab these points. I'm going to make sure that I got them aligned across the world axis here. I'm going to polygon mode and I'm going to mirror it over. I'm going to delete that line. I'm going to make a texture. Now your 3D app's probably different than mine, but I'm just trying to show you that it's going to tile. I'll go as quickly as I can here. I'm about done. So, tread. I just want to show you that it tiles around this nicely. I'm actually going to change that color to something closer to what gray we were working with. And that's something I forgot to show you is we could have darkened that tread in Photoshop so it would look nicer or whatever. You can always color correct it later. I'll leave that on you. So I want to grab these polys and I'm going to grab those polys and I'm going to make a texture UV map. I'm going to call it tire UV. And I'm going to make it cylindrical and create it on the x-axis. And now I need to go load it in. I forgot to show you how to do the UVs also. Oops. Boy, I did that on the wrong one, didn't I? Delete that off there real quick. And try that again. Luckily it's still reset. So now all I gotta do is rotate this here and fit here. Oh no, it looks pretty good right about there, I would say. Somewhere there. I forgot to turn my smoothing on. Still appears to be showing that line from Photoshop. I think I'm going to have to crop off a pixel. Just one pixel. I don't know if it's at the top or the bottom though. But that's something you could do. I'll leave that up to you. That's an easy fix. You just need to remove a pixel from either the top or bottom. I would try the top first, and if it don't work, go back in there on a copy. Go in there and remove the top pixel across the top, and if it doesn't fix it, I guess I could do that if you feel like finishing the video with me. I'll go back into Photoshop. I am going to open that image. Looks like that line is at the top. Maybe it is at the bottom. You see what I'm seeing here though, right? I'm not sure why it's doing that, but here's what you do. Remove that crappiness. I don't see it at the top, so I'm just going to do it along the bottom. I'm going to resave it, and I'm going to back into my tool, 3D tool of choice, and I'm going to reload it. And nope, still there. Go back to Photoshop, crop again. I am going to take it off the top too. And resave it. Back into my 3D tool of choice. Reload. And it's gone. I had to take it off the top and the bottom. Looks good now. And I remember telling you about the normal map thing. The normals really help it pop in the when you take it into your when you do your renders and stuff. I'm going to go. I want a nice deep normal map, so I'm going to say 12, I think. And Control save. Save this as a JPEG too. Call it normal. Control Z. Because I might do bump map off of it still. Go in here to Surface Editor, set up my normal. And then I have to save this real quick. Save it on my desktop. Tire. Toot. And I'm going to go ahead and do a preview on it. See how it's going to look. When it's rendered. And that's how it will look when it's rendered. Now you can set up a different texture map for the outside of the tire, but this tutorial is basically based on making the tread part. But you can zoom in on it pretty good, and we can set up a bump map, and that'll make it look even better. I don't know if you feel like following along till that part of the tutorial, so let me go back. Let me do the bump map real quick. Now this normal map filter does take a while to do the height map. And you want to do the height map, from what I found, you can do it off of the other one, but it seems to work better if you turn it into a normal first and then go and do the height map. And I got a decent speed computer, and it still takes it a minute or two. A 6-core computer, and it's thinking, so that's not too bad, isn't it? And I did it on the resized one. It would have taken a lot longer if I did it on that original one. So remember that too, not to do that bump map until you resize it down. And now I'm going to save it as bump. Go back into my 3D tool of choice and throw it on the bump channel. Say okie dokie. You can do text specularity and everything, and it doesn't matter actually at this point if I want to go back in and do that curves. Darken the tread or whatever. That's up to you if you want to do that. I actually do want to, because it seems awfully light in there to me. So I'm going to flatten that down, say save, go back into my 3D tool of choice, and reload it. Did I not save it? Oh, you know what I did? I saved over my bump channel. So let me go resave this as resized. Go redo my bump channel, which luckily didn't take too long. And then I'm going to resave that back as my bump channel. Now I'll go back into my 3D app. I'm going to reload that tire resized and reload my bump. And hit save, and then go back to preview what it'll look like when it's rendered. There we go. That looks pretty good. Looks real good. And that's it, guys. Hope that you can find this useful in some way. Royalty-free tire tread that you can use on as many cars as you want, and nobody will ever come after you and say, "Hey, that's my tire. What are you doing? How dare you? I worked an hour on it. Pay me $1 million." Nope, nobody will ever do that to you. Alright, so you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.